All right. All right, we're back officially. Sorry about that, y'all. We lost connection. My internet was, being the internet. I didn't do anything. Like I just told Grace, it wasn't me. Like at the very beginning of this comic cinematic universe, it was a learning process. I was messing up all the time, but this time, I can't be blamed for the internet. Okay, so what were we saying before we lost connection? My apologies. What were you saying?
I think that we were just discussing how, so these Ushaptis might, be holding people or deities like Khonshu who were wrongfully imprisoned,
Yeah.
but we don't know which ones were and which ones are like Amit that were rightfully imprisoned and should have been like locked up.
Right.
But I think it'd be cool to revisit it because since we're going to revisit Moon Knight in another season down the road. We're still like dwelling in the Egyptian mythology, so I feel like it would be a good starting point, especially because we already have a really solid Easter egg to fall back on. And be like, ooh, this, that.
So, kind of with what you just said just now, out of all of the shows, because so far we may have had five to six shows released on Disney Plus. I think as of right now, Loki was really the only one to have to end with saying there will be a season two, and then later on at like a maybe like a D23 or something like that when they announced all the Marvel shows, we already know we're gonna get like a what if season two, but uh, with Moon Knight, who's to say that because they didn't say season two is coming here at the end of this show that the shows that didn't end with that are gonna go straight to possibly a film like Falcon and the Winter Soldier didn't end that way. It ended with now it's Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and I'm assuming that's gonna be a movie, just like Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and then in parentheses 2024. Like say just to separate it from the original second Captain America. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think because we didn't get that, I think maybe the next time we see Moon Knight may be on the big screen.
It could be. I mean, it could be. I know that they had updated like the way this was presented as like series finale and changed it to season finale. So I think, or I do hope that we get maybe like another full season to just explore his character before they throw him in the ring with everyone else. But
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the next time we're gonna see him, or maybe like sometime after that. Like I'm excited to see Moon Knight on the big screen because I loved Oscar Isaac and I want to see more. So whether it's the big screen, the
Such a
small screen.
girl. I'm sorry. You're such a girl. Every girl just loves Oscar Isaac right now. He's trending right now. He's the new hotness. Like at the end of the day, I know you love his acting, but when I hear a girl just say, "Ooh, I love Oscar Isaac," I'm just like, "All right, y'all. Like, I get it. He's
Do you
he's
not?
a he's a good looking man. Okay, I got it. Can y'all just
Do,
stop fangirling, please?" You know what I'm saying?
do you not?
No, he's good. I'm not gonna say he's not. I'm just going to say that he is a good actor.
And that's what I'm saying too.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm.
Uh huh.
So either we're both girly or we're both just big fans of his performance in Moon Knight. You can decide whichever one you
Gotcha.
want.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
regardless, I'm just excited. I'm excited for whenever we see him next. Like the way that he did the Mark and the Steven personalities, and then like the way they can be so distinctive even within one shot. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Like it's just so well done. Oh, and actually I was gonna make a comment. So we get to it was kind of cool to see Layla or the actress that plays Layla like go between Layla to Talweret like in that scene where she's starting to become like the avatar of her. It was I think very similar to what we've seen Mark and Steven do. And I like that we got to explore that with different characters kind of because I think that's a challenge. It's hard enough to play one character, but I
Mm-hmm.
have to slide between the two, especially so like abruptly. I feel like that's just really impressive.
Well, say I feel like we're only gonna get that type of situation in in the Pyramid of Giza because that is the only location in which the gods can actually take over the body and actually talk through the body. We saw that in episode 3. It wasn't like Conchu ever talked through Mark. He was always in Mark's head. So that type of interaction, it would only either happen in Giza or on in a similar plane to where these gods can access the body like that, you know. So
Yeah.
I did think it was cool that we did get that interaction to where she was she had this super giddy Towerette voice or dialect, or was it Towerette's actual voice, or was it her voice acting like Towerette?
No, no, I do think it was the woman who did the voice for Towerette who we were listening to. So it was just the actors having to, I think, like replicate the mannerisms.
Yeah, because say on with Mark, it was just Mark talking to the gods, right?
Mm-hmm.
With like just acting like Conchu. It wasn't really the voice of Conchu talking through Mark. I'm asking you this question.
I can't remember. I can't remember. But I think either way, I think it's just like you still have to emote like the physicality of each character, which is
Mm-hmm.
impressive. And then just another highlight to Oscar Isaac because not only did he have to do like the physicality of it, but the voice change and for it to be so fluid and so precise for us to clearly see these distinctions like it's so impressive and it was cool to also see another character do something similar and like in a rare situation like you mentioned because it's not like we're going to see Layla with multiple personalities so I thought it was cool to explore that.
And I think the last question that I have, because I feel like I've covered everything else. Um, do you think, with what we've seen this whole entire season, season two is now more so going to be? Because I think I read somewhere as far as Moon Knight villains. Do you think it's the Moon Knight villain coming up would be more so a personality as opposed to anybody else?
Like maybe more like an internal conflict
Yeah.
because like we left with um Khonshu being a villain, right? Is that what you're like kind of referring to?
Well, yeah. I think I read somewhere that in the comic series, uh, Jake was a villain to Mark and Steven.
Oh,
So I'm wondering, like, do you think season two is just going to be Mark and Steven versus Jake?
if that's the case, I
Jake
think
and Conchu, basically.
yeah, I feel like if that's the case, that would be kind of cool in that I feel like that would have to take place in like the psych ward consciousness, right? Because otherwise we can't see them physically separated, right? I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
would be to explore. I feel like if anything, there might also be like an additional maybe like B plot behind it also, just because I feel like otherwise like the whole series would just take place in this consciousness, which I guess wouldn't be bad. I don't know. I think either way,
They
the
just have to inception us again, just take us
yeah,
down more levels. That's what Kevin Feige said. He was just like, more layers, you know what I'm saying? So here's what we're going to do with Moon Knight. We're going to actually put more layers in it, and we're going to take you into another consciousness where they all come together and fight.
more speak, the more this sounds like something they would do. So I would
Mm-hmm.
leave it outside of the. I would not leave it like outside of the question. Like that seems very plausible for sure.
Yeah.
I
Did you?
I was gonna say I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we see the avatars of these Egyptian deities die off, right?
Mm-hmm.
The last moment we see Osiris's avatar speaking with Layla, I believe it's Osiris specifically speaking to her in those last little moments because there is like a little bit of a change in the voice as well, and it just seems apparent.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the avatars were the only ones to die, or do you think that the actual deities themselves died in this process?
Um, I would say it was just the avatars, just the human forms died, just because, if anything, Harrow's power or cane or staff was only meant to, I guess, feed souls to Amit.
Mm.
So I'm assuming that he fed Amit the souls of the human characters and not the actual deities.
Okay, I'll follow that. I'll follow that. And
Yeah.
like, let's continue on that path. And I feel like that was the case too, but I was just curious to kind of see your take on it. Because the gods themselves live in like a pocket dimension, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like separate from our world because of like how they spoke of like the divide between God and man. Like men have, you know, ceased to worship them, so they kind of abandoned them as a result as well. And so in my head, I'm visualizing it's kind of like Aisha and like the Golden People in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where it's
Mm-hmm.
just like beep, 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 and as soon as their ship is gone, the Avatar, they're like, ah, oh, man, like I lost my video game. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not like once their avatars are gone, they're like, okay, well, there's still a problem on Earth. Now I have to physically actually get out of my pocket dimension and go and help. It seems like they're just like, oh, okay, well, we lost. It's just, you know what I mean?
Right. I think, as far as the relationship between, uh, let's say, gods and man here, I think they made it clear that Khonshu was banished just because of him making it known that gods are real on
Mm-hmm.
Earth, right? So he may be, if anything, the only one to be on the plane of humans, even though humans can't see him. Uh, I believe everybody else, like you mentioned, to be more so in a separate quote unquote dimension or afterlife or wherever they are. Uh, and they lost their they lost their video game basically. They lost who they're controlling, you know. So
Yeah. Do you see
um
the people that I'm speaking of? Like, do you see it now in my like the way my brain plays it out?
yeah, like I mean, and that's honestly how I see it, but the only difference is these gods aren't actually uh controlling these avatars. It's not like, because say in Guardians those people were controlling like because they were they're yeah, the ships, you know. So if anything, um gods are there, they have the avatars there to kind of speak for them, but yet they don't really control them.
Mm-hmm. No, I see that. I
Yeah.
see that. And because we're having this conversation of like gods and men and how the Egyptian gods, or the majority of them, these deities, have decided to really separate themselves from man and just have these people who observe for them, right? And they kind of talked about this in episode 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's cool because this ties in directly to Thor: Love and Thunder, where the villain played by Christian Bale,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
the villain played by Christian Bale, he criticizes the gods heavily for having such a like hands-off approach with humans because they see that the gods have more responsibility than they're allowing or they're really giving themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And which is why he starts to slaughter all these gods, and I think that's what we're going to see in Love and Thunder. So I wonder if there's going to be some connection to the Egyptian gods who are pretty much doing that, right? They're not really involved anymore in like the affairs of men. And so I was also, because I was doing some prep work for when, you know, inevitably do more
Mm-hmm.
trailer breakdowns for Thor: Love and Thunder, and eventually, of course, once we see the movie in July.
Mm-hmm.
So I already started my little research, and so in terms of the MCU, the Olympians are like humanoid beings that live in a pocket dimension called Olympus. So that's the way it's set up in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Think because they did use this wording, I believe, like pocket dimension is where like these Egyptian gods live. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever their Olympus would look like for them is like that. So I feel like they're definitely in the realm of criticism that, you know, Christian Bale's character is going to have. So I'm just curious if there's going to be maybe like a tie-in, some Easter eggs,
There,
or something.
there has to be, just because we like I mentioned about Osiris, we didn't even see him, you know. So it could come to the point to where all of these gods, no matter Greek, uh, Egyptian,
No worries.
Mexican, Norse, you know, um, at the end of the day, they all come from somewhere that's not on Earth, and if Thor kind of breaks that barrier and introduces us to that, it makes more sense. Like I read an article recently to where, uh, even though I kind of mentioned it earlier in terms of in real life how the Black Panther goddess is uh, in real life Egyptian. Let's separate that and stick to the MCU. And let's say if she's strictly Wakandan, they've already casted her for Thor: Love and Thunder. So we've already kind of got an idea that that god is going to be here in this movie too. You know, so she could be in this pocket dimension to where, if anything, Christian Bale's character's name is it Boar?
Bor the God Slayer,
Yeah,
I think.
I just know it's similar to Thor. So Boar, he's traveling to these dimensions to slay these gods and goddesses, and uh, yeah, it's a lot to unpack, and I'm just serious. I'm curious to see where Feige and this creative little retreat took it. So
Mhm.
we'll see.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. It's like we'll see.
Well, honestly, I think that's right now because we're getting such like I wouldn't call them one-offs because obviously they're in the same world. A lot of this is giving us more context just when it comes to world building. Like Loki with the TVA and the governing body that is here as we're learning really how not just like the afterlife outlines and how there's different ones depending on what belief system you have,
Mm-hmm.
but also it's like just any concept, whether it's like the god of thunder, the god of love, the god of whatever the case may be, that there are several, and like the I guess depending on your belief system, that would be your god of this, right?
Right.
So got a lot of world building with a lot of these different films, but still like we haven't had them connected just yet. I'm sorry, in these different series, we haven't seen them connected just yet on screen. I'm excited for that to come to play.
The only thing I need clarified, which I'm sure is going to come, is uh is Angelina's character in relation to these Greek gods, because they put her out to be in the Eternals as, even though her name was Athena, she was quote unquote Athena, the goddess of whatever in Greek mythology. So that's one thing that I would like clarity on, and if so, if she is this quote unquote, not I won't say God or whatnot, but has any relation to it, will they connect it to where, let's say in Thor: Love and Thunder, will they make reference to meeting an eternal named Thena? I'm just curious just to see if they
Yeah.
make that connection.
So in the comics, the Eternals and the Greek gods are are separate beings, and they
Correct.
actually conflict early on, but they kind of mm, had an agreement. They made peace, and the way they set up is that while the Greek gods live in their pocket dimension, the Eternals would be essentially their representatives. However, and Athena is actually one of those characters where her name, although it already resembled very close to Athena, was changed to Athena to be a symbol of like their unity and their harmony between those two different groups and species. But the humans on Earth, because apparently we're just dumb,
Yeah,
like
we're just
difference, and
it's
so
like
we're
the
like,
same.
yeah, we're like Eternals are the same as so and it's kind of funny because when we see it, and before I really looked into it, I like Eternals is set up for you to be like, oh, that's so cool, like the Greek gods that we know are actually the Eternals, and it's like no, but that is what the humans in like the MCU believe as
Oh,
well.
I wasn't even going that route, because let's say with the Eternals, I wasn't even like, I didn't even, I think it was clear, well, for me at least, that the Eternals are totally different from Greek mythology. It's just that there was one single connection to where, like, I think it was Sprite, just to say, oh, that's Thena, this, that, and the third, and I forgot what she said,
Hmm.
but I just knew now there was a connection between Thena and Greek mythology. Back then, I didn't know we were going to go into the Greek mythology route, being that they just introduced. But I can say it's easily confusing, just because, of course, whatever happened to make that comparison, it happened, let's say, at the dawn of time, thousands of years before present, and a lot of facts can get mixed up, and
That
Marvel
yeah.
is now taking the time, hopefully, to clear some of that up.
Yeah, no, and it's cool because that's how it happened, and like how it happened in like the comics, where it talks about like the humans thinking they're just overlapping and the same, but really it's like the Eternals are the representatives of like the Greek gods, which is why their names are so similar. Like we have Cersei, and we have like I can't think of his name, the one
Icarus.
that, yeah, Icarus and things like that, and like Thena, um, or you know, with a
Yeah. And if Angelina still looks decent and they they don't recast her, then they clear it up. 10 years from now, I'll be there in the theaters just to watch and see what they do, just
yeah.
to see how the Eternals actually connect to Greek mythology. Because if anything, being that we don't know when that's coming, um, but hopefully something can be answered this next Thor movie. Why? Why?
I just look at it real quick, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, but is made nods to also film, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Thor and Thunder. Yeah. Oh, 2 months away now. 2 months away.
Legit, two months and two.
I believe Thor: Love and Thunder is just going to be that next film to follow,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we got a lot to break down this next couple 3 months or so.
Yeah. But as for Moon Knight, that was our Moon Knight recap. I hope you all enjoyed the series just like Grace and I did. Again, I'm curious just to see what Marvel does in the future as far as shows go, because as of right now they've given us something different each time, even though it may be connected, and they didn't directly connect Moon Knight to the MCU, um, which is still out there. It's a question out there, but it's a different story, and I enjoy every bit of it, So yeah, thank y'all. Thank you, Marvel, for giving us Moon Knight. Thank you, Oscar, for killing that role. Ethan Hawke did a great job too playing Hera. And I'm actually like low key growing up. I was a Ethan Hawke fan, like from Training Day and other movies that he did. He's a good actor. I just feel like uh, today I see a lot more of him on Netflix and Redbox, like not like on the big screen as often as he used to. So I'm kind of glad that Marvel kind of went back, be like, yo, we got this role. We think you'd kill it, and I think he did a great job portraying Hero.
Yes, I mean, all the actors just did amazing. The story was so beautifully told. Even with something that's so back and forth and confusing, and it's meant to be confusing,
Mm-hmm.
it was delivered really well. So this is another really good one for Marvel. Like I feel like every time we watch one of the series, I'm like, this is my favorite. I love this one. I don't think we've done like an official ranking of the series. Have we done like of the
No, we
TV?
said we were gonna do that, and I totally forgot. Did
We're
you?
gonna have to do it. Well, next week is gonna have to be all Multiverse of Madness. Let me tell you, we're gonna need the full time just for that. So maybe after
Man.
we'll break down for you guys. So let us know that's
Um. Well, wait. Before we even say that, do you even want to do that live, or is that something that you would want to do via Insta?
which one?
Like
The rank.
post our rankings via Insta.
Dude, let's do both. Let's do both.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, we're gonna talk about Multiverse of Madness next week, and I'm gonna bring our main movie power rankings back up. So we're going to place that wherever it deserves. Grace, she's not going to tell me again whether if it was good or not. She's not going to give me anything. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see for another 2 or less than 2 hours now, and then we're going to chat about it. next Friday. So until next time, Grace, you have a great weekend, and the rest of you all have a great weekend, and we will catch y'all next Friday.
Have a good one, guys. Catch up on Multiverse of Madness. You can join us next week. Chill. Have an amazing time at the movies.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. See you all later.